Hello and welcome to another episode of King Joe's Update. Well, today I started taking some of my comic books up into the attic just to get them out of the way so I can create room for storing toys. Now, the other day I showed some. Well, today I brought down 6 boxes from the garage, pulled them out, and as you can see, Ghost Rider, XMen 2099, different types of Batman, different XMen figures, Spider-Man, different waves of Spider-Man, Kiss, Barbie dolls, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I only went through 6 boxes, and I got my first double toy I found, Total Justice Aquaman figure. But the reason why I have this video, I'm going to set you up on the tripod for a second. Okay, we're on the tripod now. Well, I forgot to show these off. My best friend Lou went to twice a year. There's a thing called Chiller. It's held in New Jersey, and my friend Lou went to the last one, and I couldn't make it because I just bought the house and funds were short. So I gave him some money, and not only do I have comic books, baseball, I got Sports Illustrated. I even collect Playboys up to a certain year, and then I quit. But he got Donna D'Erico to sign her November 1996 issue. Erica Elnelnak to sign her August 1990 issue for me. For December 93 issue, and he also met and had Amber Smith sign her March 1995. And last year when I went to Chiller, I had Gina Lee Nolan sign 2 issues for me, which one was the Babes of Baywatch, and I had Donna D'Erico, but the guys messed up because this is actually a gatefold cover, and I actually wanted Donna D'Erico to sign there, and they forgot to get her to sign it. So hopefully, with some luck, she'll be at another convention sometime. But you guys like my other videos so much, I had to tell the story about when I went to Chiller last October. Now, I believe if you're going to have somebody sign stuff, it should be a fair market price. You should also get something that says, they signed it, certification, especially if you're paying $35. Because I had Lou Gossett Jr. sign. I have an Authentic Enemy Mine movie poster, and Lou Gossett Jr. signed it for $25. And right next to him were Playboy bunnies. They were in the WWF. I don't even remember their names. I have their issues, but they wanted $35 to sign, and I was like, can you get a discount? Because the one I wanted her to, I had 2 covers that she was on. I wanted her to sign. She was like, no, I should say not her handler. No, $35 is pop. But on the other hand, Gina Lee Nolan's handler knocked $10 off since I had her sign 2 covers. And Angie Everhart signed mine for $25 instead of $35. So, I was like, there's no certification on these. I'd actually, if I have to go, I'd have to pay $20 for each signature to get them certified to be authenticated. So if you're like paying $35 and another $20, it's $55 for the book. To get it certified and autographed. And the sad thing is you can go on eBay and get some of them certified cheaper sometimes. So I tell people, finagle. Just don't ask them. Because if they get enough people saying, they'll lower their price. Because the reason why they're charging $35, people are stupid enough to pay the $35. My friends were laughing, but they couldn't believe that some of them actually knocked their price down. And I told them, I said, they want the money. They want the money, they'll sign. Now, there was a couple of them that didn't, like Julie McCullough. She didn't knock down the 2 WWF Divas, didn't sign. But I had a lot of guys, and some of them were actually had deals. If you have them, like Richard Keel, I don't know if you know him, but he played Jaws in Moonraker. I had him sign my Moonraker poster, and I got a picture with him. And he actually signed another thing for $40. I actually got 2 things, autographed by him. And I actually got a picture from him, a movie called So Funny, where he played a guy, Mr. Eddie. One of these days I'll show it. It's still at my father's house because most of my stuff is still up there. I only brought maybe like a quarter of the cards down, and it's just like this move is killing me, especially because I got a bad back. But the bottom line is, don't ever be in a hurry to part with your money over anything. Because I tell people, good things do come to those who wait, and if you're patient, you will get stuff at a good buy. It just might take a couple years. Best example for me was I went to a show I could have bought Iron Man #1 for $100. This is back in the 80s. And I didn't. Well, a couple years later, I walk into a card shop. And the guy goes, "Hey, you still collect comic books?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "How about this? I got these." And it was Iron Man 1 through 5. It was the issues that are in my Iron Man collection. And I go, "How much you want for them?" It goes, $50. I got Iron Man 1 through 5 for $50. Like I told you in the past video, it's only what somebody's willing to pay. And it goes for any type of collectible. Like these Playboys. I got into them for a while. I ran with it. I got into the toys for a while. It's like funny because back in the day when I lived at home, I had no bills. It was easy. It's harder when you have a family and you have to support them. Like now, it's like I can't be like I used to be. Trust me, I would love to be like I used to be. You know, I get a lot of you guys sitting out there and telling me you love my collection. I was like that, the 40-year-old virgin for the longest time. You know, because I had the toys, I had the comic books, and it was actually hard for me to, even though I loved women, it was like they were like all this childish. But then over the decades, with all the comic book movies, all this stuff, women started realizing it really ain't childish to collect. This is actually a legitimate, thing to collect. It's like baseball cards. Comic books, it's better. As far as I'm concerned, a comic book is better than a baseball card. Even though I don't agree with people who slab their books, because the only thing you can get out of the enjoyment of a slab book is you get to see the cover. Yes, there are great covers out there, but you know what? The main thing is the story. That's why they call it a comic book. A book you read. You cannot read a slab comic book. I call people who buy and collect slab comic books not comic book collectors. I call them comic book investors, because a comic book is meant to read and to be enjoyed and to understand the story. And that's why when you get the books, they wrap around like the Batman. You have to get like the 4 Batman titles to get the full story. I get a really sick sensation when I see all these people with all these slab comic books, because I'm like, to me, they're missing out. It's like that was the whole part of being a kid. It's just like I was bummed out when they took bubblegum out of the packs of cards. And they did that. In fact, I did my college speech final on that. They did it for 3 reasons. 1, collectors were complaining that the gum was staining the cards. 2, the government couldn't tax it because it was a food item. Right? Actually, they were the 2 main reasons. The third one was just like, was sort of like petty, because it was actually cheaper for them they had to put the gum in the card. But when they did that, it sort of ruined the hobby for kids, for card collecting. Just like when they got rid of the CDC, the comic authentication code. You can have a storyline. Tell a story without having sex, cursing in it. It's like Will Smith says in his raps, you don't have to curse to be a rapper. And you don't have to have nudity or sex or cursing in the comic book to tell a good story. It used to be where they had the question mark, hyphen, exclamation mark, and you could put in the curse word you wanted, or the expletive you wanted, and you understand the guy was mad. You didn't have to put down, son of a bitch, okay, I just cursed, but hopefully YouTube won't mind that because I'm trying to get a point across. You don't need that in order to get the point across and tell the story. And back in the day, that's how it was. I think when the older guys retired or passed on, like Julie Schwartz from DC, they left the wrong people steering the helm at a lot of the comic book companies. Like me, I never was a big fan of Stan Lee because he always slapped the moniker and Marvel stuff on everything. Didn't care about the quality of what he was stamping. As long as he got it out there. You look at a lot of the Marvel movies in the early, they sucked. But they're out there. You have the Punisher out there. You have Daredevil out there. You have Elektra out there. You have all these Marvel title guys out there. And the quality, compared to the comic book story is not there. Now, like, I didn't mind the last Spider-Man. I think the last XMen 3 was the most horrible one out of them all. I didn't particularly care for both Fantastic Four movies, even though I thought Brian Chiklis played I related to him as the Thing. I thought he did a good job as playing the Thing. I just didn't like the other characters that well. The Spider-Man movies, I like to see them actually get a kid that looks like a nerd and actually transform him that way. They always get a pretty boy. even down the comic books, Peter Parker ain't the original guy he was back in the 60s. Same thing with Wolverine. The way Wolverine was supposed to be a small, scrappy, Wolverine character, and now he's what, 6 foot something instead of being in this 5 foot area. It's like even Superman has changed. Supposed to be the Boy Scout, supposed to be the ideal of what a person should be morally. And according to my understanding, like actually killing a guy off of holding a guy off the roof, more like what Batman would do. And I'm like, somewhere along the line, comics got into an area where I feel, like I said in the last episode, ain't for kids, it's always geared to adults. And I go, you're alienating the next generation, you're not letting them share what we had, we grew up, what we enjoyed as growing up. Even the cartoons they show anymore on television really ain't more kid, they're more for adults. And I'm guilty because I watch them. But are we not destroying the next generation's, chance to enjoy what we did? Alienating them from everything that we grew up loving, holding, prizing. I get very emotional when I start talking about this because I want my daughter to have the same kind of relationship I had with my mom and my dad, because my dad wasn't into the comic books and baseball cards. Well, he was into baseball cards, but not the comic books. In fact, he hated the idea of me doing this, collecting this. My mom supported me because it kept me out of trouble. I sit home and read. And she used to go to comic book shows with me. In fact, went down Allentown the one time on the way back. Our car broke down, flat tire, and I had like 4 or 5 long comic book boxes of stuff I bought from a guy called Cap's Comic Cavalcade in Allentown back in the day. And guy stopped, jacked up my car, we got home. She used to help me catalog them, sort them. After I get done reading, she wanted me to give her a synopsis of the storyline. It was a good time. Until I ended up taking over the full attic of the house with the books. And then she was like, I have no place to put my Christmas stuff. So that's the only bad part about it, is it took up a lot of room. I do enjoy everybody, his comments, especially with the last video. We can sit here all day and discuss about where things are going wrong. And the biggest thing is sales drive the industry, even though I don't agree with a lot of what they're trying to do, especially with the Walking Dead series about how much it is, because guys, they only sold something. I'm like, yeah, that's the sales, but how many was the print run? I've been trying to find out how much the print run is of the first couple issues, and all I can find is the sales. Well, sales ain't the print run. Sales is what, back in the day when books came out, they went to the magazine distributors, and the magazine distributors would put them up on the shelves, and what issues they sold were called sales, and what issues didn't went back to the manufacturer, back to the warehouse, and that's where they would sit, or they would get destroyed or recycled. Now, you got to watch with stuff like that, because sometimes they don't destroy them, especially if there's a collectible value to them in the second marketplace, which there is. Sometimes they sell them to book wholesalers, or, believe it or not, private individuals can sit on stuff. I want to know what the print run is on these issues, because I got in a big, scuff with somebody over this the one time discussing. I go, sales is not print run. Print run is how many books do they actually make, not sold, made. Because I'm worried that a year or two from now, when this book, it's already over $1,000, hits $2,000 or $3,000, you're going to see 100,000 copies hit the market very slowly, and somebody's going to become a millionaire overnight. So that's my thoughts. If you have any questions, comments, please feel free. So, and as always, thanks for viewing and subscribing.